Hello and welcome to the Can I Retire Now podcast with your hosts, Nick Russell and Becky Wagoner. I'm your podcast producer, RJ Malik, and Nick and Rebecca. Welcome. How you guys doing? Hope you had a great weekend. And what do you have lined up for us today?
Yeah, great to see you, RJ. And today we wanted to talk a little bit about financial literacy when it comes to retirement. So in the first couple episodes, we talked about some of the basics, creating a good foundation, understanding where your money's going. But obviously, you can't have a podcast called Can I Retire Now without talking about retirement. So we thought we would take today's episode and cover some of the basic products and strategies, common things that people are using to save for retirement. Hopefully discuss some of the ins and outs of how they work, the differences, and maybe, handle some of the myths that are out there about and, that people commonly mistake as they deal with these products. So.
Yeah, because I read 60, I forget the source of this, like over 60% of people don't know how the difference between retirement accounts and how they work. And I'm not ashamed to say that I'm like halfway in that. Like I could name them all, but I don't know that I could tell you the difference between them all. So here we are.
Which is, I'll use you as an example, Becky. It's kind of sad state of affairs that we don't teach people this when they're young, when they're first starting out in their careers, because you're somebody who is, worked in higher ed, has an MBA, like you're a smart woman.
No, I know the finance terms, but if you were like, which do you want? Which product? I'd be like, I don't know the rules. What's best? So
it's a good thing you married a financial advisor, I guess, right?
So lucky.
Man.
Really worked out.
Well, so why don't we tackle some of the basic ones? And we by no means prepared it this way, but I'll ask you some questions and I'll just see if you have I know you seem so excited about this.
Yeah.
And we'll see how your financial literacy is, what you know about it. But I'll start off with what I think should be an easy or familiar one, 401k. So 401k.
A very long race.
Yeah, way longer than the 5K. You have to really train for that one. So the 401k, and we'll use 401k as an example, but if you work at a non-for-profit or a school, like when you worked at the university, you had what was technically a 403b, slightly different rules, but essentially the same thing. These are going to be employer-sponsored plans. You get them because your employer offers it. Back in the day, our parents, their parents, they would have had a pension, something that would have guaranteed them a fixed amount of income when they retired. But in the last really 25, 30 years, there's been a dramatic decrease in the amount of companies offering pensions. It's very expensive for the employer, a lot of legal aspects to that. And they've started offering 401ks. So what is a 401k? Basically just a place.
I thought you were asking.
I should actually ask you. I'm going to ask you.
You said you were asking.
I got excited. I got right into teacher mode.
It's an employer-sponsored retirement account. Like you just
Correct.
said. You already gave the answer away, so I feel like I'm nailing this test.
Well, how does it work? How do you participate?
I mean, you typically opt in, and I feel like employers typically offer a percentage of your salary to contribute to it every year, and you have an option to match it, maybe. Typically,
honestly,
yes?
You're using all the right words.
Okay.
and I think getting to the place there. So usually they're made by payroll deductions, right? So it's the easiest thing for a financial advisor to say is, look, it comes out of your paycheck before you get a chance to spend it. It's gone before you know, and it's saved. It's a beautiful
pre-tax.
thing.
That's a
commonly thing. Pre-tax.
Okay.
So what does that mean? That means the deduction comes out prior to the IRS factoring in taxes for your income. So really easy. If you make $50,000 a year and you save $1,000 in your 401k, you're only getting taxed on $49,000 of income. So not only do you get to save that money, you get to
so
save
it
money in
reduces your
taxes.
personal tax liability.
So it reduces your income as far as taxes are concerned, which may or may not feel like a big deal. But all of that extra money that gets saved and then invested, which is the other aspect of the 401k, the money just doesn't go in a bank account. It goes into, usually there's going to be 15, 20 options minimum for you to choose from that you're going to invest in. And they're not mutual funds, but they're essentially mutual funds. A lot of times they're called sub-accounts. But these are portfolios that you can put your money into and they'll hopefully grow for you over time, but are going to fluctuate with the market.
Okay.
You mentioned a match. So the match, I think, is the most important part of this. So pre-tax is nice. An easy way for you to save for your retirement is nice. But a lot of employers are going to offer a match or an incentive for you to participate. It is honestly of no benefit to them. I offer 401k here at work that you participate in, and I provide a match for all the employees.
Oh, wait. So it's not... Okay, now I understand the difference. I thought the employer was always the one contributing and the employee offered the match, but it's the other way around.
Correct. So you are an odd example because at the university,
that's the way it worked for me.
Required you to participate. They actually deducted it from your paycheck,
and they participated
whether you wanted
too.
to or not.
Yeah.
And then they gave you money. So it felt like you were matching their contribution. But in fact,
that's how I thought it worked.
Yours. Yeah. Well, and that's very common in like not-for-profits and universities, sometimes hospitals like that. So if anybody out there has a 401A as opposed to 401k, that's kind of the hospital version of that. A lot of letters.
There's a lot. We're getting real in the trenches here. Okay.
By the way, if anybody wants to know where they came up with all of these names, it's literally the code in the IRS code book is 401 subcategory K and all of that. That's where they get these names from. But yeah, the employer offers a match. So it does not help me as an employer to offer a match other than
employee retention.
Bingo.
Yeah. Okay.
Incentivizing my employees to stay. But if you're contributing 3% to your 401k and the employer's matching 3%, I mean, all of a sudden, you're getting 100% more money than you're putting in contributed.
Yeah.
And it's going to grow for you over time.
Yeah. Okay.
It's really a beautiful thing. So does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
It makes more sense now and why I was confused earlier.
No. This is why we're doing this, because I figured other future episodes we can really deep dive into 401ks and IRAs and all this stuff. But we need to at least build a foundation for people like you that are smart, know the terms, but don't know some of these nuances.
Okay.
So this morning, you mentioned IRA to me before I left for work.
Yes.
So what do you know what IRA stands for?
I believe it means individual retirement account, Nick.
Man, I am so lucky.
Okay.
Wow. You are beautiful and wise. But you're absolutely right. So if you think of the name individual retirement account, there's two things that people ask me about or make mistakes about when it comes to IRAs that kind of get answered right in the name. So I've had clients ask me, well, hey, why is only my name on this account and not my spouse? Well, it's an individual retirement account. Now, in most cases, when you have an IRA, your spouse is going to be the primary beneficiary. Not in all cases, but in most typical. So if something were to happen to me, it would become your account, or you would have the ability to do whatever you want with it. But it is technically an individual account and individual ownership. The other piece that I think is really important to understand is that when you have a 401k or any of those other letters, that is an employer-sponsored plan, like you had mentioned. That means the employer owns the account, and you are a participant. So if you ever look at your statements, you'll see words like participant. You are participating in your employer's plan. You do not get to make the decisions on investment. You can choose your own investments, but the investment pool, the match that they offer.
Oh, it's like multiple choice. Like, these are your options, pick, but you don't get to pick what the options are. Okay.
But the employer gets to choose the options.
Yeah.
He gets to decide whether to offer a match or not. Now, in an individual retirement account, it's your account. You own it. The individual owns it. Now you can choose to invest in whatever you want.
Unlimited power.
Unlimited power. Yeah. With great power comes great responsibility, Becky.
Yeah. Okay.
So that kind of has a pro and con to it, right? That's a very daunting task to say, oh, well, I'll just choose my own investments. But again, if you're getting advice from a financial advisor or professional, that's where they come in and they're able to help you.
Okay.
Now, have you ever heard the term roll over your 401k?
Yeah, I was going to ask you. I definitely know things can be, your retirement accounts should roll over when you change employers or whatever. Is it just, you can just roll over a 401k? Can you roll over an IRA? I guess you don't need to roll over an IRA. It goes with you? I don't know. Yes. I know we've done it for my accounts.
This is great. This is like a perfect example of, by the way, I hope you understand when I'm here at the office, this is like the exact conversation I'm having with people.
Yeah. When I stopped working at the university, we rolled over my 401k or 403b or
Correct.
Numbers and letters. We rolled over an account.
We rolled over all those numbers and letters to an IRA.
Okay.
So when you leave an employer like you did, you can leave your account there. Now again, you have that selection of investments. You have the employer changes the plan, like they're using one company and they switch to another one. You just kind of have to go along with it.
You just roll with the punches. Yeah.
Yeah. Or you can do what's called a rollover, which is where you say, hey, let me take my money from this employer plan, open up an IRA or an account in my own name, and roll it over. And then I'm in control and I can make whatever investment decisions I want. And that's what we did with you. Again, could be daunting, but again, you married a financial advisor, right? So helped you allocate that to make sure that it made sense for you. And now you're in control of that.
Okay.
And so that's where some of that terminology comes from.
And there's all different kinds of IRAs. I don't know if we want to get in that. That feels like too much for
why
today.
Not? We'll touch on them, and then I guess we could dive
very
in
briefly.
a little more.
Yeah.
So the second most popular one from an IRA, which handles basically rollovers for most people, is a Roth IRA. And I think we will probably have a whole episode on IRA versus Roth IRA. Roth IRAs are contributory. You own them. Again, they're an individual account. You can contribute money to them. But they do have some bells and whistles and restrictions around how much you can contribute. There's a limit. If there's an income cap, if you make more than a certain amount, you're not allowed to contribute to a Roth IRA. But the major difference is, you mentioned before that 401k contribution in a lot of cases is pre-tax. Well, because it's pre-tax, later when you retire and go draw the money out, all of that money is going to be taxable, because the IRS isn't just going to let you save money tax-free and then take money out tax-free.
Yeah.
They're going to say, we'll play the long game with Becky, and when she comes around and retires, we'll tax her then.
Okay.
Presumably, maybe it'll be in a lower tax bracket, all that kind of stuff. So a Roth IRA, you don't get that tax break now. It's after-tax money. Like, think of it, it's not out of your paycheck, it's out of your bank account.
But then when you withdraw it, it's not taxed.
Correct. It's tax-free.
So you're really playing that. Okay. All right. So it's the difference is taxes. Got it.
So can you think of an example that it would make sense for you to want tax-free money in the future? Like,
yeah, if you think you're going to be in a higher tax bracket in the future.
Bingo. Which most people think they'll be in a lower tax bracket. I'm retired, I have less income, but they don't realize that their 401k, pensions, that money is taxable. Even your Social Security, if your income's at a certain level, is taxable. So having tax-free money is really attractive for people that can qualify for Roths. Pretty interesting to look into. Maybe we will hold off on the others. They're really more for self-employed people, SEPs, simples, that kind of stuff. So we can tackle that.
All right.
Another time. So how does that feel? Surface level, a little under the surface, 401k, IRA, Roth.
I mean, amazing. I'm ready now.
You feel good? You feel
I feel good.
you feel good. Okay. So what do you want to jump into next?
Well, the next one on our list is pensions, which you kind of touched on, which I think most people understand pensions, right? You work for a company a certain number. I know this one because it was an option for me. You work for a company a certain number of years. You vest into it, and your pension is a guaranteed income that they pay you based on your number of years and your last average salaries.
It's perfect. Yeah.
Done.
Every formula is a little different for each company.
Yeah.
It's usually some combination of years of service, income, age.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's not as popular anymore, like you said, because of companies having some trouble with it, but also people don't work at the same company for their lifetime anymore. We have different
You don't have this
employee habits.
Yeah, those 30, 35-year, I worked at the same company, got a pension.
Yeah.
Okay. I will say one thing that's come really popular with those remaining pensions is instead of taking that monthly income, like you talked about, a lot of pensions are now offering lump sum distributions, which for short looks and feels like a 401k rollover. So you basically say, hey, instead of giving me a fixed amount of money every month, just give me a lump sum of money now. I'll figure out what to do with it. And in some cases, it could be really attractive because then again, it's your choice. You put it in an IRA. You decide how you want to invest it. But I bring it up because a lot of people make the mistake of taking that lump sum, taking a chunk of it, and paying off a big expense. Could you think of what giant
their
expense?
mortgage.
The
They pay
mortgage.
off their mortgage.
Yeah. And they don't
When
realize
that doesn't make sense because you could invest it and earn average of 7%. Your mortgage is probably not 7%.
Well, we can't promise returns here, Becky,
but
yeah, with the last few years of mortgages all being in that 2, 3, 4%, it's very likely that people will invest and try to target a little higher return. But if you take $100,000 out of your pension or your 401k, pay off that mortgage, then tax time comes around, that $100,000 is taxable.
Oh, shoot, you got to...
So you're going to have like a $25,000 tax bill.
I didn't think
maybe,
about that.
a $30,000 tax bill. So obviously, talk to your financial advisor, your tax professional, every disclosure and disclaimer and all that good stuff.
Yeah.
Before making those decisions. We talked a little bit about annuities together in kind of preparation of this show. Annuities will definitely be their own episode because there's a million different types.
Yeah.
But a pension is technically an annuity. Annuities were started by allowing somebody that, in a way, didn't have a pension to create one. Say, hey, here's a lump sum of money. Give me a fixed income for the rest of my life as long as I live, or as long as I live plus my spouse, or a certain amount of years. Yeah. Annuities have really morphed over the years. And now there's some annuities that are just investments that don't have that income aspect. There's some that now have long-term care benefits and riders on them. There's some really interesting stuff that's happened over, say, in my career, over the last 20 years with annuities, but probably too many to dive into. But they are probably the most, what's the term I'm looking for? Like,
dependable.
What was that?
Dependable?
Well,
I don't know
no,
what you're going after.
I was thinking of like, I have people come to my office that are like, I've had a great experience with annuity or a terrible experience.
Divisive.
Divisive, thank you. That was the word I was looking for.
Yeah.
So that'll be we'll leave that for a fun conversation later.
And then
we talk.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, please.
I was going to say, so those are generally the kind of retirement accounts that people can save into.
Yeah. A lot of times, probably the only, I guess some of them like the 401ks and those you're saving into, the pensions your employer is saving in for you. The IRAs and annuities tend typically to be I'm about to, or I just retired. Let me move my money into this thing to create my strategy. And it becomes like I always think about it like these vehicles are homes, right? And the furniture you put inside of them are the investments. So you can have an IRA, you can have a Roth, you can have an annuity. Sometimes you can have the same furniture inside of them. They're just, maybe they're taxed differently or they have different bells and whistles or benefits. Yeah. So obviously anybody that's listening right now can realize how quickly this can turn into like a 5-hour episode of.
Yeah, that's why I don't think we should get too deep in the trenches here about all these things. So
yeah, I think we'll probably reference this episode in future ones. Hey, go back here for baseline definitions and then see us in the future episodes for kind of the deep dives.
So those are options to save. The last one we had on our list to briefly touch on, because it's technically it could be a source of income in retirement, is if you've invested in any real estate. You can obviously, if it's something you collect rent on or can sell or something like that at that point, that's obviously a source of retirement income if you've chosen to invest that way in, previously, right?
Yeah. I mean, we've done it. I'm fine sharing that. And right now, we use the income to pay expenses and within the properties and pay off the mortgages while we're working. But if we were to retire today, having real estate comes with a lot of potentially for people tax benefits. With that income, it's taxed and treated very differently than, say, a W-2 employee's income. But with a paid off mortgage or, say, a low mortgage with a nice rental rate, could provide additional income. But it also counts as earned taxable income. So again, something to consider
tax
later.
Talk, man.
Yeah, I know. Everything's taxed. It's just a thing.
Apparently.
Yeah.
So the next thing I think we wanted to talk about was how, obviously, to start one of these or start saving in any of these options, which 401k is obviously through your employer. I read now that the vast majority of employers are not even giving employees the default is they're enrolled. You now have to take action to opt out instead of the other way around, and it's working. So that's the first step, right? If you're working, find out if your company has a 401k and enroll in it and figure out your percentages and matches, right?
I agree completely. I think 401ks, especially that offer matches, it's as close to finding money on the sidewalk as you can get.
Okay.
If you're putting in 3% of your income pre-tax, it's probably about 2% difference on your net income, or your actual paycheck. Within a couple paychecks, you won't even notice that that's gone. And if the company's then giving you another 2-3%, I mean, it's hard to beat that as a starting point.
Yeah.
And I would say the earlier you start, the better you create those habits, the less realize that money's missing, and you get that money saved.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about it more in the 401k episode, but the earlier you start, it's just dramatically different.
Oh, I would agree. I mean, I started mine not knowing, I guess, too much about it when I was 21 years old. And so, and it really paid off. So, and I didn't notice the difference because I never saw it ever. It was taken out of my first paycheck. So, okay. And obviously an IRA you can start on your own, or you have to find a licensed financial advisor or broker or whatever they're called, right?
You can open up an IRA at most banks. You can open them online direct with, say, a mutual fund company like a Vanguard, a Fidelity, any of them, or with your financial advisor. Couple little quick things. This is now more talk to your tax consultant, disclaimer on the bottom of the screen. If you have a 401k or an employer-sponsored plan available to you, you can contribute to an IRA, but you can't take a tax break on that. So a lot of people don't find themselves...
So you have to follow the rules when it comes to having both.
Correct. So there are some nuances there that we'll get into. But a fun thing that a lot of people don't realize is that when you have a spouse that doesn't work outside of the house...
This is fun for who, by the way? Okay, go ahead.
For you. I think this is a fun fact for you.
Okay.
So because I work out of the house, and I guess now you work at Sunrise here, but prior to that, when you stayed at home, I could have contributed to an IRA on your behalf as what's called a spousal IRA, so that you could actually get retirement contributions even though you're not, working in the traditional sense at an employer.
It's true love, folks.
Yeah. There you go. Just making sure you have some retirement money set aside too.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. All right. And so the other thing is, I think that a lot of people don't do is when they change employers to bring their plans along with them and update them. Right?
Yeah. When people change employers, a lot of times they'll leave them behind. So we talked about rolling them over to an IRA. You can, in a lot of cases, transfer them over to your new employer's 401k.
Oh,
So-
you can take old 401k money and put it in the new 401k money.
As long as the new plan allows it, which most do, because let's be frank, they're making money on
Yeah, they're
holding your
making
money,
money on
so
it. Okay.
it's silly for them not to. So if you like stayed at a job and let's say you have, you realize, oh, it's maybe a smaller balance, it doesn't make sense for me to open up another account, move it. You just want to, essentially transfer it to a new one. You move it to your new employer. Yeah.
Okay. And someone
Which is
can
great.
help you do that somewhere.
Absolutely. At the new employer, whatever the
Ask how to
company
do
is
that.
that's sponsoring it, they'd be happy to help you.
Okay. And what if you're self-employed?
So self-employed is both more fun and a little tougher. So sitting in that position. So it really depends. The easiest way to think about it is if you have employees or not. So if you are a sole practitioner, you don't have any employees, SEP IRAs tend to be the first place to look. Maybe not the option for you, but a place to look. And if you have employees, traditionally people are going to look at what's called a simple IRA, which is essentially a 401k just kind of parsed down, making it a lot easier for a small employer to manage. It's less costly. It's less restrictive. So
All right.
that's usually where I'll tell people to start. Now, again, it depends on their financial situation and all of
yeah.
that and kind of the future of their company. But I have had a SEP, a simple, and now a 401k as the business has grown. It's kind of set the trajectory for what plan we've used.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
So a couple other things to consider, just if somebody changes plans, like if your employer changes plans, do check your beneficiaries and check your investments. They're supposed to all map over from one company to another. But I've many, many times looked at someone's old 401k statement and saw a name that wasn't their spouse. Maybe it was the ex-spouse.
Yikes.
Those conversations are always fun in the office. Or sometimes it just says estate, which means that your money is not being left directly to anybody. It's going to go into probate and left in your estate if something were to happen. So just make sure you
check
keep
beneficiaries
taking a look at that.
and pack your retirement every time you change employers. Got it.
No reason to leave it behind.
All right. I feel better now. I feel like I've learned something. Thanks, Nick.
Good. I know it's not the sexiest topic, but it is obviously very important because these are things that touch everybody. It's usually the foundation, the first steps into saving for the future.
Yeah.
We're going to talk so much about this and all the little nuances of it, but I think this created some good groundwork.
It's important to talk about. Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, looking at time, I was wondering, I didn't know, do you have did you know or anything?
Yeah,
fun
that's
for
what I
us
was
today?
going to say.
You do? Oh,
yes.
Awesome. I'm excited.
According to the Federal Reserve, my favorite place
everybody's
for data.
favorite.
Yeah. In 2022, 54.4% of all families have retirement accounts, which means almost half do not have any retirement accounts, which feels low, but maybe not. I don't know. I mean, I guess we'd have to look at the kind of, I don't know, get into the data for that. But anyway, so only half the people have retirement accounts, but if they knew that they could go to their bank and open one, maybe we could improve people's future.
Yeah.
So
that feels low to me because
I don't think the Federal Reserve would lie to us, though. So
no, I think it's a credible source. Well, it depends who you ask nowadays. But I don't know the number offhand, and I wish I was prepared to answer this. I think it's about 75% of companies now offer some kind of plan, like a 401k IRA or something. So right there, it's telling us that part of that group is not participating. Now, if you have a plan available at work, but there isn't a match, you could do that plan, or like you said, you can go online, you can go to a bank, you can go to a financial advisor, open a retirement account. But and that's
like
households. That's not people. That feels low. That's not good.
But I think that's why employers are trying to make it the default that people are in a retirement plan and instead of they're taking away that barrier to entry for retirement. Like you don't have to do anything. It's set up for you. So which is good.
Well, let's be honest, when you're fresh out of college starting your first job, which is when we want to tell all these people to start, right? What do you know about 401ks? You just know like, hey, I need this money because I'm earning it and I want it, or maybe you don't need it, you want it. It's more of a psychological thing, but
yeah.
So do we have?
What's
I was
the
going to say,
homework,
do we have
Nick?
homework? Yeah.
Yeah.
Homework. All right. So homework. So a couple quick things. One, I would tell everybody to log into their employer-sponsored plan. Look at what you're contributing. See if you can increase that even by 1%. Every little bit that you save helps.
I would say step 1A is figure out how to log into your retirement sponsored plan, because I wouldn't have known how. I mean, I got the statements in the mail, but I don't think I ever looked at it online. So figure out if you have plans and then figure out how to log into them.
Yeah, I like that one. Figure out how to log in. See what the match is. Check your beneficiaries. Navigate through the site a little bit. Make sure your money's invested. A lot of times we see people with 401ks, they're just in the money market fund. Now, if you want to do that, fine. But if you're investing for the long haul, there's usually risk tolerance guides and recommendations they can make.
Oh, so make adjustments if you see fit. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. If you have old plans from old employers, consider rolling them into either an IRA or that current plan.
Yeah. Step 2A, find those accounts.
Find those accounts. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I'm being honest. I think, there's a lot.
You're right.
This is what you do every day. Speaking of someone that doesn't do that every day, I'd be like, where is it?
You make a good point.
Okay.
Because just like we did with tracking expenses, maybe make a list of the accounts you have, places you're saving money, right? Just so you have an inventory. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's it. So find the accounts, find the logins, view them,
create
check
logins.
The beneficiaries.
Yeah.
What was that?
Create logins.
Create logins if you've never logged in before. Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's a good start. And because you said that, when I get home tonight, I'm going to have you log in to our system and view your accounts, because I don't think you've ever logged in.
No, and I have 6 hours to figure it out.
I wish you luck.
And with that, I think we should wrap up.
Yeah, we went even a little longer than we wanted, but important stuff. So we'll leave everybody with homework for next time. Next upcoming episodes, we'll dive a little more into some of this stuff, just to some practical use cases and a little more details for people that really have some questions about it. And yeah, I'm excited. I hope everybody's enjoying it. If you have any other questions or want access to any of these resources, you can always go to the website, which is sunrisewealthadvisors.com. Then, thank you for listening. We'll see you next time.
Bye.